Next up is Patrick Monahan from Marquette University, and he is going to be sharing with us all things about methods in Ignatian innovation. So, Patrick is the Director of Innovation at the 707 Hub and the Instructor of Practice in Entrepreneurship in the College of Business at Marquette University. He created and teaches the course Methods in Ignatian Innovation that is a part of Marquette's core curriculum. So super excited to have Patrick. Patrick, welcome.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. We're going to shift gears a little bit, as she said. So this is a course we created for students at Marquette University. It's part of the core curriculum. So students at Marquette have to take classes in different themes that kind of fill bigger buckets about service and needs and justice and everything. So this is our second year in methods in Ignatian innovation, and it's our first year really kind of integrating the Ignatian aspect into it. Last year, I tell the students and anybody I talk to that it was very, very beta. And it's fine, teaching innovation, you talk about iteration all the time. But last year, we were just kind of figuring it out. This year, we've become much more intentional in how we're teaching it, how we're involving different Ignatian aspects as the lens to see different things. And I want to say that this presentation isn't to imply that this is a perfect solution to teaching this. It's a method in doing so. I think mostly, maybe in the most aspirational sense of what we're trying to do here, is this is kind of maybe a call to action that universities, entrepreneurship centers, across the nation have offerings like this. They teach innovation courses, they teach entrepreneurship courses, but maybe we need to be just more intentional in how we teach these courses. Not only just have faith a part of it, but let faith guide it. Kind of asking the question is, at a Catholic university, at a Christian university, do offerings in the space need to not just be disruptive, but also spiritually discerned? So I always start class with this image. So it's a stained glass image, and it depicts a scene, and St. Ignatius is at the middle right there. Of course, this is long before he became a saint. In a previous life, he was came from a wealthy family. He was a soldier, and he took a pretty rough cannonball to the knee. And he spent the next years undergoing multiple surgeries. I can only imagine what that was like way back then, and had his knee put back together. But it was during that time that he found God and decided to change the path he was on. And that's the reason I always share this with students, because you meet students at universities, they're set. I have to take this class, I have to take this class, I have to take that class, I have to get this grade, this grade, this grade, because this is the path I'm on. And this is just to say that, paths change, things happen. And it's how we react to those and grow from those changes or hurdles, obstacles, the entrepreneurial world pivot, how we overcome and become what comes next. So I love using this image. It's a great image. In class, we talk a lot more about the whole story behind it, but that goes well beyond 15 minutes. But the point is that, getting students to think about their path, and it might change. So this all started with work from Father Nadal. He was one of the earliest companions of St. Ignatius. Well, I guess real quickly, that's our building on campus, where it says love is shown more in deeds than words. That's one of St. Ignatius's sayings. But it comes from Father Nadal's Contemplatives in Action. So to Father Nadal, you didn't separate prayer and action. They were always the same thing. They were hand in hand. He said that we weren't, monks withdrawn from the world. We were part of it. We were, active. They were finding God's in all things, always in study, action, serving others, everything you do. And kind of his call to be contemplatives in action really blends kind of a deep inner awareness with disciplined outward engagement, a balance between reflection and performance that are always kind of going on at the same time, hand in hand. And from this, Nadal actually described the Jesuit way of proceeding. And so this is really kind of at the heart of what we're trying to do in Ignatian innovation. Lots of courses in innovation, lots of courses in entrepreneurship talk about equipping students with a skill set or a mindset or whatever you want to call it. And it's not to say that those are not good things. There's a lot of great courses and there's a lot of great universities that do really good work and offer really good courses in this space. But the goal of Ignatian innovation is to provide students this way of proceeding, kind of an entire way of being, of doing, for lack of a better word, things. That the way of proceeding is a lens for the students to both see and act in the world. So Father Nadal coined these three terms: spiritu corde et practice. And so from the spirit, from the heart, and in practice in a pastoral sense. And what he meant by this is that everything starts with the spirit, being animated by the Holy Spirit, developing an inner freedom that allows you to follow where the Spirit leads. And this relates to kind of the Jesuit principle of magis, which I'll talk to a little bit later. And it's a desire to do more, kind of to transform the ordinary into something sacred. Corde, from the heart. This is connected with the Jesuit principle I'll talk about a little later, cura personalis. That's the one most people have heard about that aren't at Jesuit universities. And this puts everything in a relationship. It's not an abstraction. It's seeing the person in front of you who you're trying to help as the person, not just a problem to solve. And then practice, it's pragmatic action in a pastoral sense, serving or doing for others. That ideas can't exist just as ideas in and of themselves. They have to become lived realities. They have to serve a greater purpose. So this is all kind of the philosophy behind the course. But in a practical sense, here's where we start. So there was a translation from the Spiritual Exercises of St. Ignatius by George Gans, and I might pronounce that name wrong. But in his introduction, he said, it's a practical manual aiming to guide others to a somewhat similar, yet fully personalized spiritual experience. And the personalized thing is key to this. So in the Methods in Ignatian Innovation course, students actually form teams around similar interests and then decide what problem they want to solve. There's other offerings in the space, and like I said, there's good work done, but it's students now work on this project or they work on that project, and it's all kind of prescribed by the instructor. From the get-go, it's a personal experience, and students it's an opt-in, they're vested, it's something they're interested in pursuing a solution to. So when we get into there's, broadly speaking, kind of 5 principles behind how we do this. And it all starts with Ignatian imagination. The course starts by putting students in unfamiliar situations. There's an experience where they're blinded and they have to experience the world like that, thinking through what it would actually be like to have that be your complete reality. They're put into, for lack of a better word, design sprints with incomplete information, or actually sometimes intentionally wrong information, to try to imagine through a process and think through different things, putting themselves in the shoes of others to try to come up with solutions. And all of this is just a way of helping them learn how to view the world differently through an Ignatian lens. Now, cura personalis is the big one. It's translated roughly means care for the whole person. And this is the one a lot of people have heard about. And if you've ever done like a design thinking course or design sprints or anything like that, you've probably seen those empathy maps, where it's got all the different, pains and gains, everything all over it. And while we do something similar in the Ignatian Innovation course, the cura personalis is really at the center of this. So all of this is grounded in the who. So not only who are we helping, but who are we becoming? And that's some discernment I'll talk about in just a little bit. But it's all grounded in the who. Who is going through the process? Who is benefiting from the problem we're trying to solve? And that's different from other efforts in this area that are really kind of grounded in like the why are you doing this, or the how are you doing this in the practical matter. It's very intentional to have this grounded in the who. And so the who am I is kind of center to the whole process. It's center to the students selecting what they want to work on. It's center to the people they talk to and who they're trying to help. And it's central to the entire journey of the process. So magis, or translates to more. And you'll hear this said often in class, and it's more as in quality, not quantity. Actually coming up and creating with solutions that are more than just a quick fix, more than just a band-aid to a problem, more than just treating the symptoms, but something that actually is pushes the students through to a complete holistic fix. It really helps drive a more that is grounded in purpose and greater good than just, you know, a bottom line, or, you know, a dollar amount or sales or whatever. And we always talk with the students that, you know, you can do good and make money. They are not mutually exclusive things, but the driving force of Magis behind everything is that to achieve something that's more, that is more impactful, that is more profound, that has a greater and lasting um, impact on both those creating it and those that we're trying to help. So discernment, this is where it gets a little trickier, because the other ones make more sense. And we always talk with the students that discernment isn't a decision making, where that is really just, you know, you decide to act or what you're going to do. It's not really what you do. It's a process of like what you're choosing and who you become along that path. And so again, that who comes up, and that the who that weaves all the way through the entire process. Who is going on the spiritual journey? Who is going through the process of imagination to put yourself in the shoes of others to try to help someone? Who is actually being helped? So the who is central to all of this. And we talk about, you know, discernment as a journey or a process of who you are becoming, not just what you are deciding to do or not to do. And then reflection. So this is really intentional, and we frame this throughout class, kind of as an iteration. For the first half of class, the reflections the students write on a whole host of different topics are really the only artifacts collected, and they're the only ones graded. They write a midterm reflection that kind of summarizes everything up to that point, and they're really given protected time to think back on everything they've done up to that point. And that really helps them in their discernment process, and it really helps them connect with the different principles and the way of proceeding and everything we're trying to weave through this course. Because as they first start the course, they may not be that familiar with it, and that's fine. That's not their fault. But it really takes some time and some intentional reflection for them to actually understand why we're doing what we're doing and in the manner in which we're doing it. Because, like I said, they might not know exactly what all these principles are, but you can see through their reflections over time, you know, it really starts to make sense why we actually are intentionally approaching things the way that we do. And then through the 707 Hub and everything we do at Marquette University, we like to say that we're innovators for the greater good. And kind of everything I've talked about here, like I said, this is not like a statement of saying this is the way to do it, you know, go do it. Like I said, this is a challenge. I feel like there's probably a lot of people in this group, maybe a lot of people watching, that have stuff done in this space. And, you know, like I said, there should be not just disruptive offerings at Christian, Catholic schools, any religious school, but offerings that allow students to be spiritually discerned in the disruptions they create by what they're creating. And with that, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you
Go
so
ahead.
much, Patrick. That was really insightful. Okay, I do have a question for you. So, someone has asked, I'm curious about how Ignatian innovation meets the students. Ignatius famously was a terrible student because he found instruction boring and would rather be doing something. Short
Mhm.
of hitting them with a cannonball, how do you prepare students to slow down and pause the hustle enough to imagine themselves and their entrepreneurship as a part of a sacred story?
That's great. I did ask about the cannonball that was turned down. But and it's I start the class and I tell the students, I say, if you're in this class and you're worried about getting an A, this is not the class for you. It's advertised as, we make flyers and everything, send emails. It's actually, they actually below, the little blurb and the little icon I created, it says no notes, no tests, just action. So
Mm.
the students show up, and it's awesome because it's in the core curriculum, so it ticks a bunch of boxes. And I get students. There's normally around 20 students, and they're from every different major, every different background. And I tell them that this class is about them creating. And I said, class time is about doing. You're working with your team. You're going through the different principles, for lack of better words. You're building a solution, but the entire time is protected for them to create. And so for a lot of students, that's a very new way of learning. Like it's very non-traditional. And it's actually funny. In the first year teaching it, I had a senior come up to me after class one day, and he was like, this is a lot different than any class any of us have ever taken. And I just laughed and I said, buddy, that's on purpose. So there's protected time. Like even when they had to submit their uh, we had to have a grade for midterms. And I said, the reflections of the owner artifacts, like we gave time in class to write that. So there was protected time. There was an intentional time set aside to complete these instead of being like, okay, hey, this is assignment, go homework, go, turn it in on, D2L whenever you get a chance. Like you have to be really intentional about protecting this time, building the space. And, you get students from all over the place. There are only a couple students in the class that knew each other. So you have to build that community. And if you do it so really quickly, otherwise you end up really wasting a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I think I answered the question.
You
Maybe.
did. That was fabulous.
Yeah.
Patrick, thank you so much for being with us today. That was a great session. As I mentioned, very insightful. I really appreciate you being here with us.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Thank you.